Welcome to today's guide on maintaining your own beautiful little terrarium in a jar. These tiny ecosystems are perfect for anyone looking to bring a touch of nature indoors. Whether you're a plant pro or just starting out, maintaining your jar is easy and fun. Let's dive in. Today's example, I like to call this one Casa Verde, the greenhouse. So one of the first things I noticed here is that this terrarium had quite a bit of yellowing leaves and some dieback. I want to start by opening the top of the terrarium and letting some air out, getting some fresh air in there and letting the substrate dry out a bit. Yellowing leaves might be a sign of overwatering, so I'm going to give this an opportunity to let some of that moisture escape. If you notice too much condensation inside the jar, it could mean that the plants are getting too much moisture or direct sunlight. Take the lid off for a while and let it air dry out. This will help also prevent any mold, fungus, or algae growth. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting all the yellowing and dying leaves out of there to make room for new and healthy leaves, new root productions, new leaf productions, and that helps give you that thicker look, that thicker jungle vibe that you really want with these small terrariums. So right now I'm just moving the plants around, moving them in more desirable areas where they're going to get maximized lighting. I'm also taking out some of these extra dead and dying leaves in the background there, but I'm doing some landscaping in a sense. It's just on a smaller scale. Part of the hobby is looking at these things from an artistic line, from a naturalistic point of view as well, and trying to foresee how these plants are going to grow over time. So here's the final results. What do you think? Not too shabby, right? And look, there's even a little flower in there. I don't know if you've noticed, but in the back there, crawling all over the log, are these little white bugs called springtails. Springtails actually help keep the terrarium bioactive. That mold, fungus, and algae growth that I mentioned earlier, those guys can actually help keep that in check as well. You want a culture of springtails in your terrariums. It's not absolutely necessary, but if you want a terrarium that's bioactive and self-sustaining for the most part, it's probably necessary. A little bit later on, I'm going to be adding some other creatures to this terrarium that will also help keep things in balance. Wrapping up the maintenance portion of the video here, I went ahead and restored some of the moisture to the terrarium. The top was off for a minute, so I want to make sure that the moss isn't too dry. Got a paper towel, and I'm just grabbing the paper towel and cleaning off the inside of the jar, removing any of the the grime, any excess dirt. And that will actually allow for maximize light to get into the terrarium and, again, help facilitate that plant growth. Alright, so earlier in the video I did mention that I'll be adding a new creature to this terrarium. I found a house millipede in my house a couple months ago, and I actually decided to put it in one of my other terrariums. Before I knew it, I had dozens of millipedes everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple of those millipedes into this terrarium because, as I mentioned, it's gonna help create a more bioactive environment. Much like the springtails, millipedes will help eat and combat any overgrowth of algae, any overgrowth of any mold or funguses. They also help combat any overgrowth of the plants, so keeping everything in balance, as I mentioned. Keeping a terrarium in a jar is a simple and enjoyable way to add a slice of nature to your home or office. With a little care, you have a thriving mini garden that'll brighten your space for months to come. This is Spaceman Kim with Spaceman Aquatics. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure to like, share, and let me know what you thought about the video in the comments. I'm out.